Hey everyone. Hey Rich.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening.
Good
Yes.
evening. Yeah,
How are you doing?
it is a Monday night, and
It's
it
Monday
is
night.
8 o'clock, and things are going pretty good for the start of the week. It's a
Yeah.
little chilly here. We're getting on the cold side here, which is unusual to be cold at this time. It's a little bit about maybe like 10 degrees less than it usually is. So um,
Hmm.
we're kind of noticing it a little bit. So that first cold is always like the worst because your body's just not ready for it, and then it's like it just hits
Yes.
you. It's like, oh, I hate
Yes.
that.
Definitely.
So, and then you get
Is
used to
the
it. And then we're around here. I don't know about around your area, but when it's then 40 degrees, people will go getting shorts and stuff like that because they're just used to it by that point. So it's
Mhm.
like, yeah. But right now it's like everyone's bundling up because it's just a little bit of a shock to the system. So
Yeah. Here we're, obviously we just wrapped up winter in Brazil and getting ready for summer. So like we're in the springtime here, but it rains a lot here in south of Brazil.
okay,
So yeah. And the city starts to get crowded, because my town here is an island. It's called the Brazilian Hawaii. Uh,
okay,
it's actually one of the most wanted places for vacation in the world right now. Florianopolis, Brazil. There's a lot
okay.
of people from North America here, Europe, and so on.
You're
So
getting all what we call the snowbirds.
the snowbirds,
Yeah,
yes.
the
So
snowbirds
yeah,
they
yeah.
fly south for the winter.
Exactly, exactly. So that happens a lot. And, my town, like for example, here we have almost 500,000 people. And on summertime, it goes up to like 2 million people.
I would believe it. That's how
So,
beaches are around here during the summer. So
yes,
you can
yes,
only imagine. And our beaches are probably not as nice as yours. So
gets really really crowded. So we just starting to see the snowbirds dropping by kind of so yeah, it's amazing.
yeah,
All
uh,
right.
in the United States they go from here down to Florida generally, but as well as
Yeah.
anything else down south they would go as well. But Florida is usually like the destination for our snowbirds because that's where they can keep warm for a while and then they come back up north once the summer hits to stay away from the extra hot.
But that's something I always wonder. Do people really do that? For example, people that live in Philly, in New York, do they live like? Do they really move? Like, not move, but they have like houses
Yeah,
elsewhere, and they literally go over there and stay
yeah,
there during the winter
oh
time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot,
Really?
especially retired, especially the retired ones. They're more likely to. The youngers are generally not doing that, but the retired, that's what they do because they have the flexibility to do it. So
Hmm.
they'll go and they'll stay down there for a while, and then they'll come back up here when it starts getting hot, and because it's even though it's hot up here, it's not as hot as Florida is. So they're trying to stay where it's comfortable as much. I know some that they'll get in an RV and they go all over the country. So they the snowbirds are though very very real. When I worked for DeVita, we had snowbirds all the time. They're on dialysis, but they would still travel. They would set up their treatments for the summer down there or up here, and then set up their treatments down in Florida for the winter. So yeah, very 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 much of a snowbird there are.
No. All right, so I thought like the younger ones, people who also work in New York or Philly, or around it, they also kind of moved. But
You might see a little bit of that. That's less likely because it though work at home is it was where some of that was happening. Um, when without the work at home feature, it's a little harder for them to
wait,
do.
I
So,
think something happened with my audio.
can you hear
Hello,
us?
sound check?
Oh,
Yes.
there you go. Okay.
Something
Now it's better.
happened with my AirPods. Can you hear me?
Yeah, let me just fix. There we go. Okay, I think it fixed. Okay,
Hmm.
the echo there. So. but it fixed the
Weird.
system fixed it. So a good system.
Can you hear me? Sound check.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Yeah,
Oh,
something happened with the AirPods. I don't know. They kind of disconnected. So,
let me turn on
hmm.
echo
On
cancellation.
echo can.
Oops.
Oops.
Because
I can't
specifically
I
turn it
can't
off.
turn it
Philly,
off.
Philly and New York, the winter is very harsh as well, right?
It is,
It
yeah.
is, yeah.
Ooh,
Ooh,
we got a
we
major.
got a major.
Can I fix it?
Fix it.
Maybe.
Maybe if I do that.
All right, all right. So we just did a 5 minute warm up as always. So what do you say? Let's jump into it.
Yeah, I think we're
Yeah, I
ready.
think we're ready.
Yeah, awesome.
We're getting
We're
echo
getting echo can
issue here.
issue here.
Can you hear me? Sound check
I can hear you, but it's an echo I'm getting. Are you
from
getting an
me?
echo? No, it's my. I hear my voice coming back from you.
Oh, okay. Sound check. 1 2 1 2.
I can hear you right now. I can hear you. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah,
Okay,
for me,
that
no
that at
echo.
least helped with
No
the
echo.
echo for now. So
Awesome. Awesome. And that's great because today we have a great topic that you set up, and whenever you sent me as a suggestion, I was like, "Oh my god, that's amazing!" Because I believe that's besides AI itself, I believe that's the most trending topic at the moment. Because
yeah,
everyone is talking about like, all right, so what is the future gonna be like? You know what I mean? Like, what about the authenticity? All right, the AI is going to be doing a lot of tasks for us, but what about us? How can we keep everything authentic? That's amazing.
exactly. And there's so much that we can do today, but is there a way to make sure that we're not going in the wrong direction with it, where we can make sure that we're getting keeping our voice in it? Because I think that's where a lot of people are concerned about. Is like, AI is going to do everything for you. Well, not really, but that's kind of the thought right now people have. So, but how can you keep your voice in it?
Yeah,
It's one
yeah, but I believe that that's the great question, because it can do everything, and I believe that's a great question that we are asking tonight. What does it mean to stay authentic in a world full of algorithms? You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah,
can
it's
you still be authentic if a machine helped you? It's like, obviously, even before AI, there are robots that can, paint, do a painting for you. But if you do that, that's where you lose authenticity. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
So it's the same thing with AI. AI can write a book for you if you want, with just a simple line. But that's where authenticity and AI generated stuff lies, because obviously I can tell today, for example, I open my LinkedIn page, for example, I see these thousands and thousands of contents, and from people that I know personally, and some of them I can kind of tell that was like almost copied and pasted out of ChatGPT, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And some I can tell like, hey, that was really, written in, and has so into it.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's a ways of doing having Chat GPT or whichever
Yeah,
system you use help you and still make
exactly.
that easier for you. But you need to be part of it if you really want to get the authentic side. And
Exactly.
that's the challenge that we have is people don't realize how much you need to still be involved. It's a different way. It's a different process that you're doing, but in the end, your voice still needs to be a dominant part of it. Otherwise, it's just AI doing it. It's not you.
Exactly. And and that made me think, I love the painter example. the machine came to help the painter in a lot of the tasks. Let's not forget that back in the days were done manually, they had to do their colors, they had to set up everything, their canvas back in the days was like cattle skin and so on, and the colors that they use were like natural resource materials and so on and so on. And now machines came into place to kind of, blend all the colors together. So the painter only needs to focus on what? On painting, on doing
Mhm.
the thing. Right now, like I mentioned, we have machines that can do the painting itself, that can do sculptures, that can do ceramics, and so on and so on, even glass, for example. But you can tell the difference. You have different tiers of products, for example, the glasses that are still blown by the human touch, right now they're more value than the glass that was done by a machine,
Mhm.
so that's where authenticity lies. Okay,
Exactly.
obviously we have canvas that they are done, on printers, for example, and you have canvas that were hand painted. You know what I mean? The
And there's a
difference.
difference. Yeah, there's a difference because
Yeah,
you can see the details of the strokes and the brush marks that are in it
exactly.
and stuff like that. And that's what makes
And
the extra
so,
part to it. And
yeah,
it's those little tiny details that you don't realize that are missing, but they start to grow.
exactly, exactly. And sometimes I think about this. Where do I feel the pressure to sound perfect? Like online, for example, on environments, and I believe that's where we lose authenticity. Sometimes we want to sound perfect, or we wouldn't do, but it's the imperfection that makes perfect. You know what I mean? Like a
Exactly.
typo or something like that. Today, whenever I see a typo, I'm like, that has a so. You know what I mean? It's weird, right? But it's true, because right now all the tags are like so perfect, so even, so well written, that whenever we see a typo today, we're like, oh yes, that's some great content written there. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that is the part of the telltales is when you start seeing those little errors, then okay, then there's more going on here than just AI. So
And what are your thoughts around this? Like, where do you believe authenticity lies with all this AI?
I would say it's it's very doable to keep your authenticity. Um, it's just about being conscious about what you're doing with it. Again, if you just kind of go out at it without any thought, it's really becomes down to the AI itself. And why would you want to just have AI content or AI writing or whatever? Like I mean, it's fine in some ways because it can be very good, but it's still not the human part. Is it your voice? No, it's not your voice, because if you're not actively involved in the writing of it, then it's not your voice anymore. So if you want to be part of it and you truly want it to be your voice, then you need to be deeply involved in the writing of it. Now that doesn't mean that AI can't do a lot of the work for you. It can do a lot of the heavy lifting in essence, but you need to be involved in the refinement and the fine details. If you think about when you talked about the painting of the machine painting, in the machine paintings, they could do all the big areas, but they never could really do the fine sections like the corners and things like that. They weren't good at that because it was too clunky for them. So someone had to come in and do those fine details. That's the trick, is someone coming in and doing those fine little details, and that's where you start making it yours, because now you're basically trimming it down and topping it off and making it sparkle.
definitely. And and I believe that reminds me of something like AI is supposed to be a mirror, not a mask.
Hmm.
Like AI didn't come to replace us. It came like to reflect us, to make us better. Because another great example, who who never did like a document review, oh my God, it's one of the most time consuming tasks.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's even more trickier because if you wrote it, you are biased on
Oh
the
yeah.
review. Sometimes because you wrote it, your brain already has everything mapped out. So whenever you go in to review, sometimes you slip by a typo because
Your mind
your
is filling
brain,
filling it in. Yeah, you're filling it
yeah,
in.
your brain's biased because already knows the structure, so it's just gonna like pass by it anyways. So that's the thing, like I believe like we are the ones setting the tones, and we can use, for example, I use AI a lot for that kind of stuff. I write all my stuff, I do all my documents, and I help AI with the formatting stuff that takes, oh my God, lots of time, doing formatting, reviewing it and everything, and getting the structure right. So I believe that's where we use AI as a mirror, and not a mask, not simply like, all right, do this for me and Control C, Control V, like, all right, it's done, and I believe that's where people are kind of losing their authenticity, with all this AI stuff.
Yeah, they. I mean, it's the mirror, but it's also the bridge to designing things. You wanna
Exactly.
you wanna put that balance in there so that you can see what you've done, but you also can be part of what you did. So that's the challenge of AI is always being involved in it. Now, like you said, when you're doing the documentations and stuff like that, it's great to give you the foundation. That I love doing that. I'm like, go write this. Then I go back and I have to refine a lot of it because it doesn't know the details like I know or what I'm doing. So I have to go in and then I might give pieces to AI and say, okay, do this for me, do that for me. But I'm still, adjusting it to the flow, the wording, everything to be exactly how it should be. But AI can help you with all those little details. It's just a matter of giving it the right prompts and asking it the right questions. And then it's also the more that AI understands who you are and what you're doing, the more it can do for you. That's the other um, trick that's in with AI is having it set with a good base program basically or informational system that it knows what's going on and how it can help you.
Yeah, and that's amazing because whenever we go back to paintings, why some of them are so valuable, and people, for example, let me use Mona Lisa as an example. Everyone like, but why is so expensive? Why so valuable? Why is so desirable? And the reason why is the story behind. It's not only the painting itself, and that's also the authenticity. There's something that's something machine will never be able to replace. Machine will never be able to have a journey or a history like yourself. Rich, like it
Hmm.
will never. It's a machine. It doesn't have all that thing, and that leads us back to the Mona Lisa example. Mona Lisa was stolen, then was retrieved, and all that drama behind it, makes it so valuable
Um,
because you know that's how the word spread around it. And that's how we design for humanity. That's how we build spaces to feel human, to make us connect. We joke around this, but for example, AI, with all these improvements, human race we have more free time. You
Oh
know what
yeah.
I mean? Like
Or
another
we
way.
have time to do other things. It's not necessarily always about the free time, but you can do
Yeah,
more of X and Y, which is even, more productivity for yourself or whatever you got to do. You can
exactly.
do more of, and that's the thing. That's where companies now are starting to see. Like initially, there was that big fear of AI taking over, but also a reality that's coming into play where we see that AI can't do that yet, and it's going to be a while for that. And really, it's better to have the partnership. So the companies are starting to reevaluate. They were initially starting to think about, oh, they could get rid of people. Now they're looking at, well, they can keep the people and do more work, and that's going to be the better outcome because then they can get more done, they can make more product, or they can service more people, or all these other factors that they can do that they couldn't do before. So instead of increasing staff, they can keep where they're at and keep going, which is even better than any other scenario that initially people were thinking.
Yeah, and I agree with that. It's not about replacing people, it's about doing more with less.
Hmm.
Another great example, publishing agencies. Oh my God, the amount of time they spend, reviewing books, correcting the English, the grammar, and everything. And right now, obviously, in my point of view, they can keep the same staff, but back in the days, just just to throw out a number, let's say they publish 10 books a year because it was so time consuming. Now I believe they can do like 50 books a year. You know what I
Oh yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah,
Same
easily.
staff, like,
Yep.
hey, don't let anybody go. You're
and,
gonna
and they still
actually,
need to be involved
increase.
in everyone, which is why the staff stays, because the AI can do the basic of the review, and it can even highlight out the things to look at, but it can't always know the right wording sometimes. Like when we write a story or something like that, it may be worded in a way that fits for that culture, that language, wherever, whatever it might be, and that wording might be spelt differently than what AI would have thought. So instead of AI always fixing it, you want to have AI highlight it, and then the human side can go and say, "Yeah, that's right," or "No, that needs to be fixed." And that's the trick of the publishing companies is they can go faster because they can have AI support them in their process, not necessarily replace them in the process.
Yeah, and that's something that there's something funny that I saw the other day. Deloitte, the consulting company, one of the big fours. Uh, they lost a lawsuit for the Australian government.
Mm,
The government clawed back almost $300,000. Because they hired Deloitte to do like a work and something, and on the report that Deloitte sent back to the government, the client in that case, the Australian government found a few errors on the report, and one of them was a wrong reference, in the report, and obviously after the lawsuit to say like, hey, you guys gave me the report, but my team kind of went to double check the reference and they didn't find it, so like, how do you put a reference in a report that doesn't exist? So like, what's going on? And after they found out, most of the report was done by AI. So obviously Deloitte said, all right, my bad, like, we're really sorry. The AI didn't change the structure of the report. It just messed up with here and there. So we're really sorry about it. They kind of, charge back on that. And, so that's one of the examples, like you said, because everyone said, all right, AI is going to kill consulting companies, No.
AI makes mistakes. It's AI was built by humans, so it thinks like humans, which means that it's going to make mistakes. You know, and it's
And
all about like the wordings that you say to it or ask it. That if you ask it the right way, yeah, it does amazing stuff. But if you ask it with a slight twist, it might give you completely false information, and you don't even realize it.
yeah, but that's the thing, like AI is not gonna kill consulting companies. AI is not gonna kill the jobs of consultants because, in my point of view, what can we learn, with this Deloitte case is the reports are still gonna be done by humans, by people,
Mhm.
And again, the same example, the AI is going to come to review everything. And obviously, the human being needs to go back and like double check everything,
Yeah,
And and that leaves us to the second part of my thought around this. That's where we design for humanity. Let's not forget a lot of the amazing inventions that we have, they were discovered by accident. Have you ever thought about this, Rich?
true. Yeah, a lot of things were. Yeah,
The myth of perfection, like, hey, a lot of the greatest inventions that we have, they were like by
just
by
they were trying to do something else, and then they
yeah,
found that. You know,
yeah.
even a lot of our medicines that we have, you know, they started
Penicillin.
going on one thing and they
Yeah.
made something else. So you know, it's that's the source of this, and I think that's where AI is kind of going right now. Is it everyone thought it was going to go X, but really it's kind of doing more of a Y. And the Y is actually not a bad thing because it's kind of like a middle ground. And yes, maybe someday AI will get into that X side, but it's got some learning still to do. And even with that, it doesn't have the, we'll call it street smarts. It doesn't have the street smarts that a human has. There's something that we have that we that isn't going to be picked up by AI for a long time. It can mimic it, but it can't intentionally or naturally do it. And if you can't naturally do it, it's going to always be making mistakes with that.
Yeah, and in my point of view, and I would love to hear your opinion on that. I believe that's where AI will never, be able to replace. Obviously, I have my assistants, and I know you have yourself. You have more than assistants. You have a whole army, of AI behind you. And it's making us better because we're able to talk with them, but it will never replace this human touch, the back and forth, the interactions, the real connections. You know what I mean? What's
Yeah.
your thoughts behind this, Rich?
Well, I would say never,
Uh-huh.
because there is always that down the road possibility that it will probably happen, probably more likely than not. But it's got a long way to go. It's not like tomorrow, and it's not like in the next probably 10 or 20 years. It's
Mm.
got a good bit to go, and it might be many years before it gets to that point where it's truly feels like it's the real thing. Now, it give you the illusion of that? Sure, yeah. That's where people are going to be struggling with that for the next several years. Is what is it really doing? Because it will feel very real to many, and it will feel like what you're saying, but it isn't really there. It's more of that reflection of what you want that's coming into you, and that's a little bit of the difference of it. But I would say never because I think that down the road that it will get to a point where it will get it closer. But it's got a lot of work to do, and we got a lot of technology to work on before that would ever happen. So robots will come in play. They're already starting to come out. There's several out there that are getting ready to go on the market at the end of this year. So we're going to start seeing personal robots in houses very soon, and they will be run by AI, and they will start to feel like a part of the family in some ways and things like that. But again, they're still a machine. They're still thinking as a machine, maybe sounding very human like and feeling very human like in many ways, but they are still giving you that reflection. And I think that's the key thing, is that AI is truly a reflection of you. It's not so much a replacement of what you're thinking or what you're doing. It's a reflection, and it's kind of cueing in on what you are guiding it to. So you give it instructions on doing X, Y, and Z, and it goes, okay, well, I take that, now I do this. If you ever work with AI and you turn on where you can see what its thoughts, it's very interesting because it's very much like you and I thinking, where it's like, okay, if I do this, then it will work this way. But if I do that, it will work that way. Like it literally is doing that whole reasoning back and forth and having its own conversation with itself on what to
Mhm.
do and where to go and all that. So it's pretty interesting on how it works. And that's because it is a reflection of our mind in essence. Um, so we're gonna
Yeah.
see that continue. But again, I would say never, but a long time away before it truly gets to that level.
I agree. I agree. And my thought, obviously, is like the Wizard of Oz. I have no doubts about the technology behind it. And obviously, there will be some tasks that probably like the AI and robots integrated, they will do much better than us. So no doubt about this. My real thought is behind like the Wizard of Oz kind of insight. Because maybe the flaws are our fingerprints. Like we said, a lot of the great inventions, they happened by accident. Anyways, those are amazing conversations. And as always, as we introduced, we're going to take this conversation into the lounge at Corners, right, Rich? Tell me, tell,
Exactly.
tell us a little bit more about this.
Yeah. So we're
What's
after
happening?
every one of these Substack lives, we are going to go over to Corners, the Corners app, and we have that all over our page, as well as um, Khalil's going to drop it into the post or the chat for you, and
Boom.
we'll be able to do that. So, and then you can go right over to the Corners app, and you can hop onto the lounge, and we will be having our conversation in there. And basically, it's the Corners conversation after call or after chat or whatever you want to call it. And what we're working on building out a little bit more process around that. But the main point is that we'll have these conversations continue real time where we can all talk, and go through more of these ideas together, because I love to hear what everyone's thinking and where your
Yeah.
thoughts are, and just to get to know everyone. So come on over to Corners, and we'll continue to have this conversation, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Take it easy. Have a great night. We'll see you again. If not tonight, we'll see you on Thursday.
Yeah.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you,
Have a good night.
Rich. See
All
you.
right. See ya. Bye.